Hello and welcome to another episode of Steelfur Speaks. Today we are here talking to the champion of the calling Birmingham, and of course, as a UK-based Flesh and Blood player, I am super excited to be talking about, in retrospect, the first UK calling, the first of many, I am sure. And I'll let him introduce himself to you all. Say hello.
Hey, I'm Sammy Braben. From Grimsby. I've been playing Flesh and Blood now for a little bit under a year. I've been started playing in Bristol, where I go to uni. So that's me.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I do actually quite like Bristol. My sister lives there, and my family,
Yeah.
my English family, because I'm actually Irish, is from Chippenham, which is near Bath. It's near Bath. Okay, it's just down the road from Bath, so they're kind of next door, which is quite nice.
Yeah, nice. No, I haven't really been enjoying Bristol. It's a great place, you know. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you started playing Flesh and Blood. I think we talked before, and you said it was in Dynasty, so not actually been a year ago. Kind of a bit of an interesting start. And
it's quite recent, you know. Yeah.
But that was a supplemental set, so I'm assuming you didn't just go out and buy some Dynasty and then.
No, so I started playing when one of my friends from uni just bought a couple of the decks of the Chain and the Levia. No, it's the Prism and the Levia deck. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And we just started like jamming some games between lectures, and it was like, this game's really good. And I thought it was really interesting, like the interplay between these two decks. Actually, like I think if you look at Prism and Levia, obviously Prism is a bit of a disadvantage because of the Phantasm, but I got a win out with the Prism through some good Spectral Shield usage, and I was like very very happy with that. I think it was a really. I was like after that I was like, damn, this game is so good. So I went along to like to one of the local armories.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing. I just turned up and was like, and so someone very very thankfully lent me a deck.
Yeah.
So that I could actually play the game because I didn't know what I was doing. You know.
That is the community in a nutshell. It's like
it was great.
If community. Deck. Yeah.
The community has been fantastic. Like genuinely, the Bristol community. Absolute shout out to all of them. They've been fantastic. You know, but yeah, I played Kasai, went 3-1 first armory, you know, lost to an Icelander. I was like, damn, that deck looks cool, you know.
Oh, okay. So were you on it? Were you on Icelander then from the start? You were just like,
pretty much,
that's
yeah.
My hero, straight in.
But, yeah, and then I went to another armory after that, and I was still waiting. I'd ordered some like bulk Icelander cards just from like one of the singles websites. At this point, you know, mostly just like commons and stuff. Paid like 20 quid for it. Because I was like, I'm university student. It's like I can't really justify spending hundreds of pounds on the expensive cards. But it's like we'll get a nice budget deck done together. Go to the second armory. Borrow another deck because I'm still waiting on the cards to arrive. Open prize packs. Fabled CNC. In the price packs.
Okay. So the trick to getting into Fab and getting an expensive deck is to open a Fabled, and then I assume you sold it to buy your Icelander deck.
Basically, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I held on to it for a little bit, just trying to make a sale. Sort of wait. I guess eventually just sold it for a tunic and like 100 quid, but I knew that I had a little bit of spending money, so therefore be like, I can spend a little bit of money on the deck, you know. And sort of just put it together over a couple of months. I was like, and I've just been on Icelander like ever since.
No, I like that even more, right? Because we saw yesterday. I don't know if you were watching, but the Battle Hardened in Atlanta was happening, and the top cut was 3 Lexis, 2 Icelanders, a Fi, and a Briar. Right?
I think it was 4 Lexus, but yeah.
Oh, was it 4 Lexis, 2 Icelanders, Fire Briar?
Yeah.
Something, yeah. And the Icelanders lost, but when you when you listen to the commentators, they said that both of those players had switched to Icelander because they thought she was good. And obviously, we've got you and we've got Rhea, who is just a massive Icelander fan, and those people are you're the people who are winning the tournament.
Yeah, Martian Bay as well, also a big Icelander player as well. Yeah.
So do you think that Icelander is one of those heroes that just rewards that deep investment?
I think so, definitely. You know, yeah. I think that Icelander winning the last few events has been slightly surprising. You know.
Okay.
I think, absolutely both like Rhea and Martin Bay are both like great players, and they definitely deserve the wins. But I think people were particularly disrespecting Icelander as well in the beginning, and everyone was taking for Lexi. And Lexi was getting like targeted by a lot of decks while Icelander was kind of skating by.
Yeah.
Because I think right now Icelanders in a reasonably good spot where you have a lot of very good matchups into basically everyone except for like Lexi.
Yeah.
Because like you have Warmongers to counter Azalea.
Yeah.
And Dromide's on a really red line deck, which you're generally okay into at the moment.
Yeah.
And Lexi's your like one bad matchup, but is the best deck in the format, which is kind of awkward at the moment. Yeah.
And Fi can be a bit rough sometimes.
Depending,
but yeah.
Generally find Fi to be okay. I think Fi is very much about whether you're hitting Channel Lake Frigid. Because if you get your Channel Lake Frigids, Fi is generally pretty like winnable.
Yeah.
If you don't hit Channel Lake Frigid, it gets a lot harder, I think.
I've had games because I play Fi a lot that go both ways. Where if they get the Channel 8 Frigid, that's fine as long as I just draw one of my 12 blues, right? Maybe even 13.
Yeah.
And then I have games where they play Channel 8 Frigid and I just draw red hands, and then it gets very difficult. But
yeah, I think if you're into Fi who's drawing like one blue, it's still okay because like he can do 3 attacks and that's fine. But then you send a Wounded Bull at him, and that Wounded Bull's like as much value as like 2-card 8 to his 3-card like 10 or whatever, and then you're like, okay, and now we're Waning Moon you as well, and it's like I think if the risky play with Fight is a lot of your 1 Frostbites don't really do that much disruption because you can usually just pay for 1 swing weapon, and that's the issue. So like the Channel Lake Fridges are really key in the matchup, and Blizzards are really key, and if you hit good Blizzards and good Channel Lakes, I think the matchup's pretty easy.
Okay.
If you don't hit them and Fight's just like, okay, turn 2 R4, and you're like, I've got nothing.
Yeah, 1 Frostbite won't stop it out of water.
It's like one Frostbite's not going to do it here. Okay.
Yeah. Then that 36 life total just starts to.
Yeah, then it's pretty bad. I think the Fi is like generally favoured though for Icelander. Okay. Personally, it's my experience. I think generally speaking, like Fi just if you hit your power cards, Fi tends to really struggle into that. Particularly if you can get like Frigid round for 3 turns, like Fi can really struggle.
Yeah.
Because you can do okay into like Channel Lake Frigid if you do like 3 cards with like 3 0/3s paying a blue, or like a little bit less than that because you got to pay for the Frostbite as well, and then you Arsenal a card and it's like it's okay.
So I think one of the things as a Fi player going into that matchup that I find kind of fun is that I don't need to hit specific cards. Right.
Yes.
So that's where I find the matchup swings back towards Fi. And I don't know if favoured, not favoured, because that's just statistics. But, you know, when I'm sitting down versus Icelander, I know that if I see anything, it's all gas. Mm-hmm. And that Icelander has to see 1 or 2 specific cards to slow me down. And if I can somehow weather, say, the first Channel 8 Frigid without getting super low on life, then maybe the second one does get drawn for 2 or 3 turns. And on those 2 or 3 turns... So that's why I find the matchups quite fun.
I do enjoy it. I think it's a good matchup, but I think it's also a pretty favoured matchup. It's my general experience of it. Yeah. You know.
So you're there, not to focus on Fi. You're there, and obviously all the Bravos show up to counter Lexi. You happen to be quite good into Bravo, especially the slower fatigue decks that the people have built, and you just kind of take them apart, right? I mean. Yeah.
So I got some very good gem pairings for the first day. First round into Bravo, and one of my locals as well.
Okay. Good.
So a Bravo that I was fairly experienced into. Shout out to Harry Johnson, who has been provided some very useful Bravo testing as well.
Yeah, it's always good to get your testing partner round 1.
The Bravo, getting the Bravo who's someone I played this, and Bravo round 1, nice win. I'm pretty comfortable with Bravo. Round 2, Fi. Round 3, another Fi.
Yeah.
Round 4. Bolton.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Just like
Bolton's on 3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah,
3-0.
wait. Might have been round. I think there's Katsu in there as well, and Bolton was round 5.
Okay. But still.
Yeah. Then there's like another Katsu, and then a Bravo.
Yeah.
And I lost to the second Katsu, sadly. I made a couple of mistakes in that game, but we these are generally all very good matchups. Yeah, dodging the Lexis and Dromides day 1.
Lexi all day, perfect.
It's fantastic. Yeah. It's fantastic.
And then half of them are gone because half of the Lexis just got deleted before day 2.
Yes, because at this point I'm like kicking around at the top tables, and I go into day 2. I've got I've already played 2 Bravos. Day 2, I have another. I can't remember the exact order for this, but it was a Lexi, a Bravo, a Briar. George Keys on Azuri on stream.
Yeah.
And then my final match of the day is against Pablo. For my winning in for as the last round of Swiss. Yeah.
Yeah.
and I beat him, in the final round Swiss, which was pretty great. And then we get to top 8. I see the brackets for top 8. Yeah, I'm into Bravo.
Yeah, perfect.
The other side of my bracket, the other side of like my half of the bracket, is Sebastian Grondel on Bravo against Katsu.
Okay.
And he wins the matchup.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's another. I'm going into another Bravo.
Bravo.
On the other side of the bracket, Pablo Pintor's just like taking names, and he's winning, and he's on the top of that side of the bracket. And I'm like, damn, I can actually win this thing. Like, I've already beaten Pablo once in the Swiss.
Yeah, so if you come
this is one more match to go.
You're laughing, right?
And like, he's good. He's obviously a good player.
No, I know. Yeah.
But
you might still
it's
win
like,
it, but you're like, I've done this already.
I'm like, I've done this already. This is the moment where I was like, oh shit, I could like win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I've beaten him. It's only one match to go. I've beaten him already, and it's a Bravo. I'm like, this is doable. I mean, like,
yeah,
it was great. It was so good. And then the final match, obviously you've probably seen it. It was a great match, great to play. Pablo is a fantastic opponent to play against.
He's a lovely guy because
he's absolutely lovely guy.
Together, so I know him a bit, but he's really.
Nice. Oh right, yeah, absolutely lovely guy. Yeah. So that was it, and then I was like, I genuinely I couldn't believe it when I won it. I just gone down to Birmingham because I like to have a bit of fun. It was like, this would be fun.
You're gonna go.
UK calling. You can't
not
not
far
go
away from Bristol, is it? Like
it's the summer holidays right now, so I'm currently back in Grimsby, so it's a little trek, but like not like hugely far.
Yeah.
Birmingham's
so that's why you could win, because you've been on summer holidays. I see. Okay, no, it's the hard question. How much would you say having free time from your summer holidays has helped you win the calling? Right?
I've not been doing much. Like, I was not doing a lot of testing before Birmingham.
Okay.
I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Well, that's going to be my question as to how much prep did you put in?
Not a lot. So the thing is, I'm away because I'm not in Bristol. I'm away from like the local Bristol scene. I'm not going to like the weekly armories as much as well. So I've just been playing a little bit of Talishar. It's like, yeah, all right, we'll go down. I basically didn't really. I made like one. I made one change to the deck going into from my like Road to Nationals list from the Road to Nationals season. Which was like swapping out one remembrance for a third in case.
Yeah.
And then went down to the calling, and then as out there, I'm like, you know what? I really need to get. I was running Ironhide Gauntlet into the CC side event.
Yeah.
On Friday, and I'm like, this has been terrible for me. I need to find an Ironhide Gauntlet right now, an Iron Rock Gauntlet, yeah.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
You were playing the one that costs 1 to block for 2.
Yeah, I was playing that one for this, and then in the actual event, I was playing the Iron Rock, which is just block 1, and I was like, I need to find an Iron Rock Gauntlet now.
Yeah, because you don't actually have the spare resources to pay that.
It's like the Iron Rock Gauntlet is a bit of a relic from last year's Icelander lists, when you had a lot more zero cost cards from Arsenal, and then you could pitch 2 to Waning Moon, pay 1 for the Ironhide, and it's a lot nicer.
But now it's like Ether Ice Veins and
it's. The good cards you want to put in Arsenal generally your 1 costs, or your 2 costs, and only if you've got Tunic Counter up.
Yeah.
And so you tend not to have the ability to like pay for Ironhide on like when you want to. You can get it to line up like you'll almost certainly be able to use it at some point during the game, either off Tunic or off with the 2 cost or something.
But it's not.
But it's never.
You want it.
Yeah, and it's like never good. I would probably. Like, if I had sideboard slots, I think it's better into, like, Dash, probably, because Dash has no relevant on-hits, and you like, at some point in the game, you can block 2 with it rather than blocking 1, but, like, Also, against Dash, it's not Blade Break, so you can just keep it to, if they stop T-boning you. Yeah. Into Dash, it's genuinely, like, a better choice, I think, but it's not a meaningful enough matchup or a meaningful enough difference, because in Dash, you can block T-bones with it, and then you've got 2 non-Blade Break cards in your Boots and your Gauntlet. And you're generally like safe from 1 or 2 T-bones.
So that's quite interesting. So you've kind of had a chill summer, but you've been playing Icelander for almost a year. So that
I've been like basically only on Icelander. I've been doing pretty well in I did pretty well in the local armories as well.
And then before that, your only real we'll say professional level play was
me, sure.
Your only real in-depth play was RTNs, really, I guess.
Yeah, so I only went to 1 RTN as well because I I was just really busy that with like stuff on weekends that ProQuest season. No, sorry, the RTN season, and I could only make one RTN. It wasn't even the local Bristol one. It was like down in Plymouth.
So this was your first calling as well.
This is my first calling. This is like my first big event. You know,
okay,
I went to one ProQuest in like January in Bristol. Went like 3-2. Was like still pretty new. Had only just moved over to like using the Wounded Bulls and stuff.
Yeah.
We'd just got like Tunic and Striders for that event as well. I had the one RTN down in Plymouth, and then I was like, "Oh, let's go to the calling. You know, it'd be fun. Like, I got the calling, make day 2. You know, that was the goal. I'd be like, maybe I'll make day 2. You know, that'd be fun. Then we got day 2. It's like, maybe if I get top 32, you know, get a few quid, pay for the event. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, but what if I win again? If I keep winning, you know, like.
So did you? I mean, was there a point where you were nervous, or was it just adrenaline, or like because this is your first major event? How were you handling the fact that you suddenly started winning, or was it just like disbelief just carrying you?
A bit of disbelief, man. I was like fucking disbelief and adrenaline, man. You know, just play it every game at a time. Yeah, I think possibly the game I was like most nervous for was the one. I said was either the one like the 2 last rounds of Swiss, I think. With against Pablo and against George. Particularly the stream. Wait, no, So the stream match was like the one where I was on stream, so it was a bit buffs. It just felt a bit nervous in there. And then Pablo, the last match was like, this is the final, this is the chance. And like, there's a pretty big difference in pricing between top 8 and not top 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you locked at that point, or was that the winning?
It was not. That was the winning in. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pablo was locked, obviously, because. But yeah, that was my winning in. So. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, making the top 8 is a good chunk of money. It's a good chunk of money.
Yeah. And so I was like, I was just feeling pretty elated after that, and I was like, yeah, man, I slightly a little bit. I slightly said that neither of the 2 Bravo matches in quarters and in semis were streamed, like because they were both really good matches. They're really close. Particularly quarters. That was a really like close match because I went second. The opponent had higher seeding, so I was second. Crippling Crush dominated turn 1.
Oh, hello. It's nice to meet you too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate. Yeah, it was. So you know, I'm like block 3, take 8.
Yeah.
Lose 2 cards. I mean, 2 cards doesn't really matter turn 1, but still, getting 11 dominate turn 1 is pretty good. And then later on, I'm getting pretty under pressure there. But he draws like an all red hand at one point, and just has to like pitch 2 to play CNC. Pitch 2 reds to play CNC or something.
Yeah.
And I get to like really swing tempo back, but it's still like pretty tough.
To the wire.
And then I'm down at 1. He comes in with Anathos for 4, holding like a full grip behind this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this. I can smell a pubble, you know, like.
Yeah.
This smells like pubble.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I have to block this. So I block 10 with like a whole hand, full block 10. But I have a Findel's Fighting Spirit in there, so I gain a life, which is really important. Because then my next hand, he just comes in with Anathos again. But I'm like, I can block 9 and keep a card.
Yeah, beautiful.
And so we do that. We do that 9, keep a card. It's a Winter Spite, take a card out of hand, and then I can like sort of, and he uses he does use the pummel there for push 1 because he's not really filtering his hand very quickly.
Yeah.
Either. And so he's like, I'll take this opportunity to deal 1 damage, you know, when I can.
Yeah.
And then we go. So I do. Words. Winter Spite. And we managed to like. We managed to claw back into that game and like get the win there. And it was that was a really like good game, a really close game, really. Yeah,
it's a shame because those are the sort of games that you would just love to watch back again and be like, this was when everything was down on the wire.
It was. It was pretty nerve-wracking again, that one, but it was a good one. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I absolutely adore it. So, I guess just a few just questions to give a bit more colour. So obviously your favourite hero is Icelander, and you started playing the game. You just said it was instantly very good. Do you have like a favourite part of the game, like a favourite interaction or a favourite card? Like when you think about what makes Fab great, is there something that stands out?
I don't know. There's like, in terms of what makes Flesh and Blood great, I really like the way that you've got a lot of options what to do with your hand. You can like because every card can be used to block, it can be used to play, it can be used to pitch, and there's like a whole variety of things you can do with any card. You know,
there's no time to fall asleep because
you've got and like every decision matters. You know, and I really like that, like all the thought that goes into like every little decision in Flesh and Blood. I also quite like the I really like how wizards, like how every class has their own sort of playstyle, and I really like wizards. I think they absolutely nailed like the fantasy of wizards. You know,
yeah.
I think wizards feel like the big brain class. You know, they do, and they actually play like that as well. You know,
because you're doing Kano, who's like, well, I've stacked my entire deck, and now you lose.
Yeah,
and you've got Icelander, which is I'm holding you off like a frost mage. Here's an ice patch. Here's an ice patch. Ping, ping.
And you're like, you've got all these decisions, and you're like, you've got all these wizardly spells. You fire off the wizardly spells. You do stuff at instant speed. You're like, ha ha ha! You fool! You've activated my trap card. And then you kill them at instant speed with Striders.
You can tell he used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! People. But so there's a question. Yeah. So Icelander is obviously getting living legend points quite aggressively now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
When she goes, will you go back to Kano, or are you holding out hope for a new wizard?
I'll probably be holding out hope for a new wizard. I think Kano's fun, but I'm not. I think if I wanted to play Kano seriously, I'd have to like learn how to like pitch stack properly.
It takes a special kind of.
Yeah, Icelander doesn't. I like you can do some pitch stacking stuff with Icelander, but usually in your games where you want to be pitch stacking, most of the things you're doing for is you're looking for like ice eternals and stuff.
Yeah.
And just by playing your reds out, you kind of do most of that.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of accomplish the rest of it by like, okay, so I want to keep like a red ice vein, I'll sink this red ice vein, I'll E-strike sinking a red ice vein, something like that. You just try and keep a couple of like the fuse cards, the good fuse cards for later.
And a lot of Icelander's setup is face up on the board, whereas a lot of Kano's setup is face down in your deck. And that's kind of a big difference that makes Icelander. Because I just finished doing the Icelander section of my new player hero guide, which I'm refreshing for 2023, because I lost it in 2021. And Icelander just like Kano gets a 1-star for new players. Like he doesn't play the core mechanics of the game. He doesn't attack or block. He's difficult sequencing wise. He's doing completely different things in the game. He gets 5 stars for depth, but that's not good for new players, right? It's like, whereas Icelander actually gets 3 because, yes, she's complicated. Yes, she doesn't play attacking, the core mechanics of the game necessarily as much as other heroes. But because her turn cycle is, I'm putting this blue in arsenal, I'm doing this one thing, I'm setting up on the board, it's actually much more accessible. And that's what I think makes her more fun.
I think she's like more accessible for new players. I think there's definitely a lot of depth, and your new player will not get anywhere near as much as that arsenaling the correct card and everything, and like the timing guide. But I think there is more to. I think Kano has an issue with like new player traps. So like, but I can play my opponent's turn and just like instant Kanos off the top.
Exactly.
And that's not really how you want to play Kano. And you end up just taking too much damage and dying, and not really.
With Icelander, it's correct to play that blue on your opponent's turn. Really, the place where you learn the depth is what blue you're playing, which is
and like
good.
Whether or not you play it every turn, because a lot of the time, sometimes you don't want to play it like one turn. You want to hold on to it for a little bit, but sometimes you do. Most of the time, you usually do, but like there's things to think about there, but you don't want to be. But like as a general play pattern, if you just focus on the like do a thing, Arsenal, it slots together nicer.
So you really like wizards, and I'm assuming you're fond of wizards in other games and other archetypes and stuff. So, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently, playing Baldur's Gate 3 and being like, how do these classes play in Fab? But there's no druid in Fab yet. So is there an aspect of wizard that you would like to see explored in Fab that hasn't been realized, or?
Ooh, so that's a
big question, but
it's a big question. Yeah, not necessarily. Like, I think that they've done wizard. I think that wizards are really well done in Fab already. But there's obviously like wizards are renowned for like their ability to. When you think about like the hypothetical wizard, you think about the like the staff doing arcane, some kind of wizard conjuring the power of the elements, or maybe doing some other arcane shenanigans or something. And I think this, like, it's a fairly general thing, and I think they really nailed the vibe of like you do stuff at instant speed that's hard to respond to, hard to react to. You have a lot of thinking and in depth with your decisions. It really fits that like Wizard, the master of master of intellect kind of vibe, you know. And I think they've really nailed that aspect of Wizards. And in terms of like what kind of wizards you have all sorts of things that fall under the category of like wizards. Because I did watch your D&D classes.
Oh, did you? Okay,
I did. Yeah,
okay.
I did. I watched that. I thought, personally, I think that the D&D classes are like not necessarily like I thought it was a really good video, but I think the D&D classes are not where I'd really necessarily want to go for, because I think that sorcerer, wizard, and warlock are too similar in terms of like D&D things to really necessarily be like set.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at general archetypes, most of those three just go into like wizard. Yeah. You know.
No.
So I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not really sure there's like a archetype of wizard that I'd like to be explored other than just a new one, because there are loads of things out there that you could do with wizards, and I'm just excited to see what LSS does next. What I think would be cool is a shadow light hero, which could be a wizard. But basically, just as a tangent.
We're getting the personal bruise out here. Yeah. Come on, no. So, give it to me. I want it.
Yeah. Shadow light hero. Yeah. So you'd have some kind of mechanic where you charge card. You get cards on soul. Yeah. And then you banish them, and then you play them from banished. Yeah.
Okay.
It's genius. I think that there is at some point there will be a shadow light hero.
Okay.
That does something really cool with like banishing cards from soul to play them from banished or something, and that'd be really cool.
I mean,
and that could be a wizard, but might not be.
True. As someone who played the Shapeshifter sealed at Birmingham, I'm not sure that's exactly what we want, but I get where you're going. But I saw a Bolton who banished a Bounding Demigod into his soul with a charge, and then he gave go again, and then he banished it to give go again, and then he played it, and I was like, this just doesn't seem. Where's the lack of card advantage? Where's the penalty?
I think if you did that, you'd have to. It would have to be a class that's not already served by the light and shadow pools, so that you'd be using like, and your hero ability would be something like really bad. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You would have to have. That would be. I think it's just a really cool design space, but you would have to have a hero that like does not have a good hero ability or does not have a great card pool to make up for the fact of the incredible advantage of you get to put cards on soul and then banish them and then play them again.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, because I mean it's like chain free card drawing is
it's
quite good. Yeah,
quite good effort, you know. But I just think it would be a really interesting design space to occupy, you know. Because I mean the Bolton the Bolton spice of you charge when I heard about the Shapeshifters sealed, I was thinking the Bolton spice, you charge your shadow cards, and then you banish them, and then you play them from banished. It's genius.
Yeah, it's not what won the Shapeshifter seal, because the Shapeshifter seal was full fatigue degeneracy. You didn't have a chance to play it, right?
I did not play it. I was like, I did the CC side event. I was like trying to be like reasonably, cautious with money. So I only had this.
I was going to say, what do you think the best card in the Shapeshifter sealed was? Single best card. If you didn't play it.
I didn't play it. So my guess for the single best card in Shapeshifter sealed,
not a majestic,
just like a common or rare, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably like a Red Herald or something.
Nope.
Red Herald.
Nope. It's a Shadow Brute card.
Shadow Brute card. Ooh. Just trying to think, because like if the Shadow Brute card that's not necessarily like played in Levia. I mean, you just have like a million poppers, I guess, in the format.
Nope.
But like,
it's a very specific card for a very specific reason.
Very. I think it is. I've been doing a bit of Monarch Draft recently, but like,
it doesn't come up in Monarch Draft.
Yeah, I'm assuming it'd be something like weird and off the wall that you just wouldn't expect to be good.
Yeah.
Oh god, I've got no idea. I've got absolutely no idea.
It is Deadwood Rumbler.
Okay.
Okay, because Deadwood Rumbler says draw and discard a card. If you discard a 6-power card, banish a card in target graveyard. So, if anyone in your opponent's side has put a single card with Blood Debt into their graveyard that they cannot play, and they aren't playing Levia, they have no way to turn off Blood Debt. So what everyone was doing who was winning was, firstly, if you open that many packs, you get like 50 cards that block 3. So you'd be running 50 cards that block 3. You'd be running as many 6s as you can, and then you just try and set up a Deadwood Rumbler, and then just banish a card with Blood Debt, and then just block until they lose. Now, early on in the tournament, people didn't realize that Blood Debt was going to kill them, so they banished their own Blood Debt, and then later on, people got a bit more savvy about it and just stopped banishing anything with Blood Debt. But then the Deadwood Rumblers came out, and you'd fatigue them anyway. So that was it. It was a Deadwood Rumbler, banish a card with Blood Debt, block for 16 turns.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Cause, yeah, I guess like I'm just trying to think because I guess you could actually do that in like actual like normal Monarch draft into like chain specifically.
Yes.
If you like find because not all of chain, I like because some cards. Wait, are there any chain cards that are not playable from banish that have Blood Debt?
No.
In which case,
the shadow, they all, but some of them have criteria. So if you know he's low on attack actions, you could put something like a Bounding Demigod in there.
Yeah, that's like a good attack. Yeah,
it's not really worth it.
Yeah. Maybe like Blue Riftbind if you can get it. It's like pay 1 for 1 attack, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely seen edge plays where someone puts a blue in, and then if you play it, that's great for me because that's a wasted action point, right?
Yeah.
Wasted resources, wasted turn, and of course, if you're trying to fatigue the chain, the fact they have to spend one of their attacks sending a shitty blue at you.
Well, you put it in like you pitch it, but yeah, it's not great. Yeah, if you're trying, it's definitely slowing down the damage, you know.
Yeah. So just to wrap us off, because I've had you here for half an hour. Obviously, we've got our nationals coming up in 2 weeks' time. I assume, though you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but I assume you're still an Icelander.
I am an Icelander, yeah.
And do you expect? You know, I mean, I think the meta will have shifted quite a bit since Birmingham. I think not so many people on Bravo.
So I think it's possible. Like, I think wasn't paying a really close attention to Battle Hardened Atlanta, but there were no Bravos in top 8, and I think it's very possible that the Lexis have just figured out. In particular, I think the Lexis weren't expecting the Fatigue Bravo.
Yeah, for sure.
And they may have then been like, "Oh, Fatigue Bravo is a threat that we need to worry about. Let's like add remembrances, whatever." And then they've gone over the Fatigue Bravo.
Because I think Lexi is perfectly capable of playing around that Fatigue.
Yeah, I think they need to like have a bit more. They need to like devote some sideboard slots to it. I think, but like you probably have access to it. I think as long as you're expecting it, you're probably okay. Yeah. So I think that it may very well end up being quite Lexi favoured, which is not great for Icelander. The other alternative is Icelanders are winning so much that everyone's like pivots away from Lexi as the meta deck onto Icelander, which is then, you know, then I've got to do a whole bunch of Icelander Wizard Mirrors. But
I could see it happening, but just the fact that she's more complicated to play, because like
I don't think it's likely.
I think you can play Lexi not maybe into Fatigue, but into a lot of people without a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't. The same is not true of Icelander.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's I think it'd be interesting to see where the meta lands. Because also it's like the UK events, so it's probably like a slightly different regional meta than it is in in America anyway.
Illusionists.
We'll see.
They're always illusionists.
Oh god, I'm not. Please no, don't bring illusionists. No.
They just always are. Like in the UK, for some reason, everyone loves Illusionist.
Yeah, I'm going to see Prism. Prism's going to be like, Merciful Retribution. I'm like, no, why have you done this? Yeah, my Frostbite's still king.
It's not as good.
It's not as good, but Old Prism was really like Old Prism. Literally, I think I wasn't playing it this time, so this is me just going off like what I've heard from other people. But basically, Icelander was just a non-factor until Prism rotated out.
Yeah.
And I think like Prism has a lot of really good cards into Icelander. Firstly, Heralds. You just swing Heralds at people. And you can't. Icelander can't really afford to block all the big attacks because then you don't have anything to hit back with.
Yeah.
And you need to kill them at some point.
And also, you've only got 6 anyway. So
yeah, you might run some others like if Illusionists are good,
true,
but
even then,
you got the 6 main ones, and and then but like you also have like stuff like Merciful Retribution, which is just like makes all of your auras deal 1 when they die, and Frostbites are auras, yeah.
Yep.
So every time you put a Frostbite out, it pings you, which is so bad.
It's so beautiful.
It's not. It's really not.
So
Please
beautiful.
stop.
Oh my god. Because I used to play Illusionist a lot. I played it at Pro Tour 1, and I really loved it. And then I was playing Iris Prism in the skirmish season, or
Yeah.
One of the seasons we had that was Blitz, and I just remember that beautiful feeling of I made a Ponder token with Peace of Mind, and then I Merciful Retribution, and then the Ponder token blew up, and I dealt 1 damage to my opponent, and it was like I drew a card and I do you 1 damage, and it was the best feeling in the world. And then one of my opponents was an assassin who kept giving me like blood rot and frailty and inertia, and I was like,
oh man,
well, I don't care about these tokens because it's whatever.
That's wow.
Ping. Oh.
That's incredibly funny, but also very sad.
But all of his attacks dealt the tokens because they were the stealth attacks, and I was just like, well, sucks to be you. I'll take 1 damage from the attack, and then I'll.
Yeah. Oh man, that feels so bad, man.
Anyway, you will not be facing New Prism at the Nationals if I am any guess of the meta.
I think there'll be a few. I think there'll be a couple.
There are plenty of people in the UK who do not switch heroes, much like yourself, actually, because you know.
Yeah, no, I'm Icelander all the time. So I think it'd be really interesting. Hoping that I don't see much in the way of New Prism, but I definitely think there'll be a couple kicking around.
Yeah.
Also hoping I avoid Fatigue Briar as well, particularly because like one of the people.
That deck is just.
Oh god.
One of the people who wanted to retire, they just wanted to win, right? I mean,
one of the people at my relatively relative locals who I talked to was like threatening to bring Fatigue Briar, so we'll see how it goes.
The problem is it's not even the worst decision.
It's really not. It's not even that bad.
Which is scary. I think if I was playing Nats, I would probably bring something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on a big break this year, so I didn't qualify. But if I was playing, it would probably be something degenerate like Fatigue Briar. I could see that. Yeah.
God. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I've been doing the Monarch draft practice. You know. Secret tech Prism. I think is like just force Prism. You know. Can never go wrong. Never fails.
Forcing in Flesh and Blood is a hot debate.
I think Prism's like just generally the best hero. Honestly, I'm going to be honest.
It's funny because I will play Leviah in a Monarch draft, like over and over again, and that works as long as there's only one other Levier in the pool. It's actually great.
Yeah.
And I will eat Prisms for breakfast.
I think honestly. I think like Prism's actually decent into Leviah though, because you just like wait till I've got any blood debt and then just like block out.
No, she is decent into
and
Leviah,
then you just like
it's just not a game I find myself losing consistently anymore for some reason.
Maybe
just because I don't know. I used to be the other way around. I used to always draft Prism in Monarch, but then everyone forces her, so they end up with terrible decks, and then you're sitting there with Leviah, and you're like, okay. No one else wanted to draft you. So
if everyone else has drafted Prism, then you can like just play the other Prism players and still go 2-1 or whatever. You know?
That is true. That is vibes. But then there's
just dodge the one-offs.
Yeah, there have been some degenerate Chain and Bolton decks that can come out and just smash people's heads in.
Yeah, I think also like if you're a one-off Chain, I think there's an issue with being the one-off Chain where you draft too many good Chain cards. And you can't play them all, and you're like sitting there with like 5 blood debt, and none of it has go again, and you're like, oh shit.
But you need to focus on the go again, non-attack actions like Captain Skull and stuff like that if you see them, and just anything that can extend your turn a bit.
Definitely.
Though I will say, you can just play Chain with like 40 cards or 45 cards. Like, I have done that. I've low shackle, stack your deck as much as you want, and then just. I've got 45 cards. I'm going to banish 6. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I think there's definitely playing Chain, but considering that I'd not done any Monarch draft before, like this like last few weeks where I've been giving it some practice in.
Yeah.
I think that I think Prism's generally like the easiest hero to play and also quite strong. Even if your deck is even if you're like the 3rd or 4th Prism, I think you can still get like a decent deck out of it.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
4th Prism's sketchy, but I think the 3rd Prism can definitely have a good deck, and the 4th Prism I think is still, you can still get a fine deck.
Yeah. I have seen 3 Prisms in a row, and the person who was 3rd still went 2-1. So there is some faith there.
I'd probably rather be like the 4th Prism than the 3rd Levier.
Yes, Yeah, because Leviathan doesn't function without the 6 power
Or
ratio.
the third chain for that matter as well.
I think in that situation you'd rather be the third Bolton. It kind of goes like that way, because Boltons can usually pull things off with generic attacks and things.
Yeah,
it's definitely a fun format though. It was good to come back to it.
I have been enjoying the practice I've done. Yeah, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll hopefully open one of the fancy Cold Foil Legendary, value draft.
Monarch first draft.
It's Monarch first edition. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
they are cleaning out the warehouses. That is that is very nice. Monarch first is gorgeous. Just don't open the Eclipse or the Doomsday and you'll be fine. Especially the Eclipse. Doomsday now is maybe a bit
Doomsday
more enjoyed, but Eclipse is like no.
It's also not even a good card to in the draft. I think Doomsday you could is probably fine in Monarch draft.
We were drafting casually last week.
Or
was it the skirmish? We were doing Monarch draft, and there was an Eclipse opened. Someone passed it to me. He was like, "I just don't really want to take it because we were in the top 8," and he was like, "I'd like to win the prize." And I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "There's a new player sitting right next to me," and I'm like, "I don't want to take it either. It's an Eclipse. I've got 2 or 3 of them." So I pass it, and when I pass it, I say to the new player, "We're on pack 1." I'm like, "Don't get baited by that card, right?"
Yeah,
because it's semi-casual. It's a thing, and he's this is his first day drafting, but it's a 12.
Right, okay.
It's a 9-person event, so he made the top 8, right?
Yeah.
And I say to him, "You're going to see the legendary. You should probably take it because you're new and it's worth 25-30 quid, right? But don't get baited by it. You cannot get that to work in draft." And he was like, "I've no idea what you're talking about." And then he read the card and he was like, "Oh, I see." And he's like, "I can't get to 6." And I'm like, "You will never get to 6." So I think he took it anyway because it was a legendary.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just didn't want him being like, "Oh, let's draft Chain," and then spending his entire top 8 trying to get this Eclipse off. And I'm just like, "Nah, mate, it's not going to work."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Doomsday's a lot more playable because getting 6 blood debt in Levy is very doable. And if you do that, then you probably do want some way to get some pressure on so your opponent doesn't just try and make you take that blood debt.
Exactly. Just to go again, but you can kind of work it out.
But if you get a Blasphemous and you're like, Blasphemous and you're block with 9 or block with 3 cards, banish 6 with Blasphemous, attack for 6. Not bad.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
that has been really fun. Thank you very, very much for coming on the show.
Yeah. Oh, would you like to see the gold foil Crown of Province as well? Actually.
Yes, I would. That's an easy question to answer.
While we're here,
you must be thrilled. Have you had? Well, I won't ask you if you've had any offers, but I imagine.
I mean,
it's graded and everything.
Yeah, it's graded. It's very fancy. Yeah, it's.
Oh, gorgeous! 9.5, perfect.
Yeah, it's 3 9.5s, 1 9. But yeah, it's very.
I mean, you get a bring to the table. It does go in most decks.
I will not be, sadly.
Okay. It's in a safe.
It's gonna say, yeah. It's a beautiful card, but also it's just also not good in Icelander. You have Count at peak, it blocks for 2 anyway. You don't need.
At some point, you're not going to be playing Icelander. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but she is winning. I mean, actually, no. I take it back. She might just crawl along. I mean, Briar has been.
Yeah, Briar's not been on 998 forever.
6 months. So
yeah,
Icelander could be around for ages.
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah. But I think that she's probably going to get another few points in national season. So we'll see how it goes.
I had a fan art version of Icelander around here somewhere. I was going to show you, but I've misplaced it, unfortunately. But I got the artist that drew the original Icelander to do a friendly polar bear on her card. And I'll show it to you at some point, but it's gone missing, unfortunately.
Oh, tragic. Yeah.
Can
you send me it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
anyway.
It's been great to speak.
Absolutely been great to talk to you as well. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, congratulations again on your win. I'm sure the whole of the UK is thrilled that, especially that we won it. I mean, if Pablo had come over and won, I mean, Jesus, a lad from Grimsby is much better than than the Spaniards.
Yeah, man. It was so good to win. Actually, a final story. So when I won. I just remember after I won, my phone was just blowing up from people being like, "Congratulations," and it felt so good in that moment, you know.
Because everyone in the UK knows each other, so it's just like.
Well, it was just like a lot of people that I've in like Discords and stuff, like the Bristol lot. Some just my other friends who like found out about it and who don't play Flesh and Blood, but like I've said that I'm like I'm playing, I played this. They just found the stream and be like, oh shit, it's actually doing well.
That's one of
which
the
was
things
like
that I
so
love
good
about something like the Calling is that because of the cash prize, even your friends who don't know Fab are actually mad into it. Like when I casted an event and my boss watched the finals, he was like, "Well, you were streaming for 400 or 500 people, so I just joined in to watch for half an hour." I was like, "Thanks, dude. I guess." So I mean, you must have found the same thing. Your non-Fab friends are like, "Well, I don't know what it is, but the man just won, six grand." So
basically, it was it's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been a great conversation. Yeah.
All right.
Been
Thanks everyone for listening, and I will speak to you all very, very soon.